Alright guys, let's talk about the birds and the bees here. Your mom said that we needed to, so... Oh no. This is oil coming out everywhere. Because we are going to replace that lower oil pan. So, it is a Greddy unit. There we go. Alright guys, well it is finally time to start the engine teardown so that we can reassemble it with some of the new pieces. We have to pull all the wiring harness, of course, because you know it's completely chopped off, so it's no longer useful. What we can do is, you know, keep that portion of the harness just for the piggyback connectors and everything. So those will be nice to have as an addition. And then some of the other stuff that we're going to do, of course, is like the rear main seal, pilot bushing. We've got to take off the torque converter since this thing is going into the only transmission type that matters. Am I right? DCT boys. It's going to go onto a manual transmission, of course, so we've got to pull that off. Probably just going to put on the other headers from the old car. They're already heat wrapped, so I figure we might as well just put those back on. The engine mounts on this thing actually look incredible. They look perfect. Now I do have new ones on the other one, but I don't see any point in replacing those as of right now. Coil packs will come out. We'll check the spark plugs, probably replace those with the other ones that are in the motor, in the old motor, since those are brand new. Sure, there's lots of little items that we're going to be replacing. I can't really think of everything right now, but we're going to start by tearing this one down. That way we can go in and tear the old motor down as well, and then put those new pieces back onto this thing. So let's go ahead and get right into it. I'm gonna make sure to bag and label these as well too. When you have this many bolts, it just gets insane if you don't start to label everything and keep it organized. You ever just feel like blowing up your VQ so you can do it all over again? Gonna mark these separately. Doesn't belong here. So, Taylor and I are actually pretty much rebuilding our cars at the same time. He's rebuilding his Audi. And I'm rebuilding this thing, of course. So, I would like to know, put in the comments, are you guys team 350Z or team Audi? At this point, I don't even know if I'm team 350Z. Who am I kidding? I love punishment. Actually, I think I'm going to change plans here first. I think I'm going to do the intake plenum because it looks like some of this wiring harness goes underneath the plenum, and it's just going to be a little easier. And I've got to take this thing off anyway, so might as well start with that. This thing ain't doing the job. Not with some of these. This is where the fun begins.
Pretty fun, kind of boring.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it, huh? The old bolts in the hole trick. Never seen that one before. Gets me every time. Using my bare hands. Okay. Got another hose down here. If you guys have experience working on cars, you will be familiar with the old vulcanized rubber hoses on the metal fittings. Try and snap this loose here. The hose is actually in otherwise really great shape for being original. Or assumingly original. I think it is. Okay, there we go. Is that it? I think that's it. Nope. One more. Let's give it the old college try. In my case, community college try. Insert hashtag post Malone went to TCC. It's a bit squidgy. Oh God. There we go. Okay. Well, we can see the upper manifold plenum cover there and throttle body. Yeah, so we can see the intake plenum cover here, and you can see there's all sorts of oil buildup. These things are really very very known for having lots of blow by, and in this case it's no exception. Now I will say, in my old car that had higher mileage and was thrashed more, it was definitely a lot worse. It was absolutely coated, so we can really clean this thing up, you know, or the other one. Figured I have two of these now, so that's what the cover looks like though, with the throttle body. All right, so with the upper cover, we are now left with the actual plenum with the runners itself as well. You can actually see there's a bit of oil pooled up here. So yeah, VQ things. They do have this metal, yeah, this thin metal gasket here. So it's usually advisable to replace that kind of thing. Undo these center bolts here, and this has a gasket as well too, of course. It's actually all one gasket. We're gonna do a star pattern on this as well too. Okay. Now, ideally, should come off at this point. Gotta lift it up over the studs on the front and back. Boom, there we go. Here we go, there's that gasket. So it's a multi-layer steel actually. Now, the one that I have to replace it is, it's an aramid fiber, which really resists heat, and that resists heat from soaking up into the intake manifold itself. In theory, giving you a cooler charge, you know, able to make more power, run more efficiently, that kind of jazz. All right, well, that exposes most of this harness here, so it's gonna be a whole lot easier. And actually, I forgot that the injector harnesses were part of that whole assembly, so is that part of the same harness? Is that a sub harness? I'm not positive. Kind of looks like it might be. Alright guys, we've defeated the Kraken. So that old cut up harness is now out, and we have a straight shot to everything else that we need to get to, and we'll be able to put in our old harness back in really easily now at this point. So at this point there's you know, some other stuff I need to do, like I need to pull off the heat shields, the headers. I need to actually pull off the AC. I'm sorry, that is not the AC. So I need to pull off the AC condenser, AC compressor, because the lines on that are chopped. So the other one's actually intact, and we just need to plug it back in. So yeah, we definitely made some good progress here, but we've still got quite a bit more to do to put the old stuff back on. So gonna go ahead and do that now. I'm not gonna stop and eat and get coffee. Make my life a little better. Ooh, that rounded? Okay, there we go. It's pretty amazing that there's actually spots that are not even, you know, rusted over. Wow, actually that's incredibly stuck in there. What the hell? Why is it so rusty? Let's do the other side. There we go. Let's take this off before we forget that that is on there. May as well cut this one as well too. We're not reusing that. Let's go ahead and get it all off. Hope the pants don't fall down because I'm cutting these belts off. Actually feels pretty good. Wow. Most of these are in really good shape. That's awesome. God bless. That thing is not coming off. Okay, there we go. Should come off. Whew, it's hot. Hot nuts. So a bit oily, more so than I'd actually hoped. It's actually still wet too, which is interesting. Well, yeah, it is wet. Still got some oil residue, so we'll probably swap those out. Alright guys, let's talk shop here for a minute. So these plugs, they're all consistent across the board. They almost look identical in terms of wear and oil and carbon. So that is definitely an issue with these cars. There's tons of blow-by from the combustion process. It's definitely a known thing with the VQ, so it's not surprising to see the plugs like this. Another really common thing with these valve covers here on the VQ35DE at least is that the spark plug wells, they tend to pool up with oil too, and you can't replace the individual gaskets for each cylinder. It is actually part of the valve cover itself. So normally you'd be replacing a valve cover gasket, and it would include, you know, your different spark plug cylinder gaskets. But in this case, they're actually integrated into the valve covers on these cars, so it ends up being really expensive. It's something like, you know, I think $500 or $600 just for the set of valve covers here. So it's a bit of a pain for sure. So what I ended up doing on my other car was, because I didn't want to spend that much, I actually just ended up replacing just the valve cover gaskets themselves, because you can actually buy the outer gasket, and then just leaving the spark plug wells alone. Alright guys, let's talk about the birds and the bees here. Look, I didn't want to. Your mom said that we needed to, so I guess we're doing this thing. We're having this conversation. I am not gonna do like the timing chain, the tensioners on this, even though I am pulling it from the other motor. Now, I'm sure that's probably gonna receive a lot of criticism, and all the while you're in there comments are gonna come out. But the thing is, these motors are kind of a pain in the ass. I'll say it. The timing case has like 30 bolts on it up front, and then that's just for the front case. The rear case also has a ton of bolts. It's got gaskets all in there. It's got miles and miles and miles of RTV, and it is a nightmare trying to get all that RTV off and reapplying it. And we learned our lesson with the first motor. We put the motor back in, and it was leaking coolant from one of the ears. From taking the car, you know, redoing everything, it was so much work. We had to take all the timing components off, take everything out, and redo that entire RTV section on the front, just because we missed a little spot there, and it was just a massive pain. So this motor is in really great shape. It appears to be very low mileage. Nothing except the valve covers on one side really appears to be leaking, and that's just a small bit. So we're gonna do those, but we are not gonna do all the timing components and everything. And you know, if that's to my demise, so be it. You guys can say you told me so, but I'm gonna go with my gut instinct on this one and just go ahead and do it anyways. So anyways, I hope that's not too awkward for you guys. Your mom told me to tell you. So because we are going to replace that lower oil pan, and it is with a I believe this is a Greddy. Yep, I bought this used from a guy on Facebook Marketplace. So it is a Greddy unit, and I think this is where we ran into issues, you know, with the Z out in Colorado on that banked track. There's really no baffling in the stock setup, and that's kind of, dare I say, baffling. So apparently the cars do pretty well on track, if it's not a sustained G track, you know, some like basically a NASCAR track is, which is pretty much what that track is, at least the oval part of it. So yeah, decided to pick up a baffled one. Now it's not crazy baffling, but it should be enough. Definitely more than enough for the street, and I don't think I'm going to be doing any more Roval circuits with that car, so I'm not too concerned, but this should be more than sufficient for what we need. So we are going to put this guy in. I've got to clean it up some more. It's not in the best shape. Looks like there's a helicoil here. Yeah, it looks like some TIG welding here on this end, done by a chimpanzee. So we'll make sure that it's all good. But yeah, we are gonna put this guy in. Well, I just did that off camera, and I'm kind of dumb, as you can see. Spilled flubber everywhere, so that was really smart of me. Now I gotta find the neighbor's cat to look all this up. Just kidding, just kidding. I don't want anyone to think that's real. No, seriously. Alright, y'all. With the coolant mess all cleaned up, I'm going to go ahead and pull off this oil pan here. So it is, what is that? I count these. Let me act like I know how many there are. Okay, 10. We're going to pull off these 10 bolts here, and then it's held on with a layer of RTV, of course. Nissan's favorite weapon of choice here. So we're going to go ahead and pop these off, and you know what? I think this thing has been emptied of its oil, but I'm not for sure. Yeah, maybe I'll flip this back over and just make sure, because I haven't taken this off yet. I would think it is, but I'm not positive. And oil. Cool oil's coming up. Oh no. There's oil coming out everywhere. That was not my Medal of Honor finest hour. Oh wow. Yep, basically full of oil. Awesome. Could have been a nasty mess. Now, a good idea when you first get a motor is to go ahead and bottle some of it up and set it off for oil analysis. Now, I like to use Blackstone. I've used them in the past before, and they do a really great job of telling you what kind of materials are in your oil. So in the case of the old Z motor, when I bought it, that thing was incredibly thrashed and it was off-roaded. Everything was just beat. So on the test for the motor, there showed to be a lot of copper, which is kind of an indicator of, you know, bearing failure or wear. So there was a high concentration of that. And so I'm not exactly surprised that the motor gave up at 125,000 miles or whatever we're at. So it's good to do an analysis and kind of know what your engine shape is in. With this one, I'm not sure how our base number is going to look with some of these statistics that they come back with, seeing as this motor oil has, you know, probably sat a long time on the shelf in the motor. But it should give us a good indicator of, you know, where our motor is kind of at in its healthiness in terms of wear. So it's going to be a really good thing to send this off. It's cheap. It's like 15 bucks. Couldn't recommend it enough. Okay, guys. Well, I think that's going to be a good place to call it on that episode. I can't really do a lot more without getting that engine off the stand and at least, you know, supporting it with the engine crane, which is currently holding the other motor and the trans. So what we're going to do in the next episode is go ahead and just start taking off everything that I want from that old motor, all the, you know, silicone hoses, the wiring harness I need, some of the gaskets, you know, some of the ones that are more reusable, not like the front and rear main seals and stuff. But gonna pull those items off of the old motor and then maybe even take a peek and see what's in that old motor, see how she looks inside. But it just makes sense to get everything off that motor first and then, you know, get this thing supported so I can take off that upper oil pan and everything below it to replace those gaskets and that baffled oil pan. So that is what we are going to do in the next episode. I want to thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate all of you guys. We recently surpassed 400 subscribers, which is just still mind-blowing to me that we can even do that. So thank you guys for watching. Tell us if you liked this, if you didn't, and what we can change if you guys want to take something else. All right, thanks guys. We'll see you in the next one.